So I already recorded this video last night. It literally took me over an hour, and then I opened the video file, and my audio was just fucking awful. So this is me attempting to do it again. I bought my computer secondhand because I'm a broke bitch, and it has almost no storage, and you can't really hear me that well, which is strange because I do two podcasts, and I feel like my audio is fine on both of them. But for whatever reason, QuickTime does not like me. Anyway, an Anon on Tumblr asked me if I would do a Degrassi ship ranking, and I had a lot of fun doing the last video, even though it epically flopped. So we're gonna be doing that here. The tiers here are pretty self-explanatory. Gibberty obviously gets their own tier because they are just no one compares. True Love, this is going to be people who are 100% endgame. The writers can't tell me shit. They ended up together. Just True Love, which is a stronger bond than soulmates. Shout out Dawson's Creek. Parents, these are people that like aren't necessarily as good as True Love, but like I want them to adopt me, or which is also weird because like they could also be really hot if they're both here. It's a weird tier. Right person, wrong writers. That speaks for itself. The Degrassi writers are garbage. Bittersweet Symphony tier. So this is not like the Cam and Maya tier, even though they might end up here. Not really sure. This is just like I have mixed feelings about it. It was good on one hand, then on another hand, it was terrible. Beautiful Mess, title of one of my favorite Shameless episodes. They call Miss Queen Karen Jackson a beautiful mess, and that is how I feel about this. Just entertaining as fuck, so interesting, but toxic as hell, a disaster. They dated. This is gonna be like the irrelevant people that like no one gives a fuck about. Who approved this? So like the step sibling ship, like just dumb shit that we don't care about. Hated them. So I honestly added this tier because if like sometimes they don't fit who approved this or Electric Chair. They were just terrible. Electric Chair, this is going to be like the abusive couples or couples I just hate. And last but not least, Trials, the worst Degrassi ship ever. So without further ado, let's get started. Unfortunately, we are starting with Adam and Imogen, which is on a poor note. I know that they have people who defend them lately, but I am not one of those people. And I think I'm just going to put them in hated them. Um, the degree to how dirty the Degrassi writers did Adam is not talked about enough. Like, they were so horrible to him, and having him cheat on Becky with Imogen was fucking ridiculous. And I mean, I don't really care about Adam and Becky that much, but I mean, Christine looked hot and like the scene where they were making out in the van. But other than that, like, why did that happen? It was just irrelevant in the scheme of things too, because I don't even think Imogen ever told Becky, which like I kind of respect because she really would have just been telling Becky to like lessen her guilt, which I know is like a big topic of conversation with Jimmy and Spinner's relationship. But yeah, just boring as fuck. Dallas and Allie, controversial. True love. Um, I know like they've been getting hate lately. I think it's just because Demetrius is a Trump voter. I think if that had never, or not voter, but like supporter, I think if that had never come out, people would still be high on Dallas and Allie. But I love Dallas. Everyone knows this. Um, I really liked how he always had a crush on her, and then they were kind of took a break after Cam died, and then the whole Allie and Leo shit, and then they kind of rebuilt their friendship and rebuilt a genuine trust. And Allie has that scene where she's like, "Oh, like you're one of the good ones, Dallas." Such a great scene. They were just so beautiful together. It was so nice to see Allie be loved like so wholeheartedly. It was nice for Dallas to get a happy ending because I do think Dallas's trauma is a really underrated aspect of the show because he really had been through a lot and nobody really talks about it. So just both of them getting a happy ending was so nice to see. Such a rarity on Degrassi. Dave and Allie, thank you to JC and Marisol for all you've done in this category. My parents definitely don't like them as much as I like Ben Dallas, but I do think that they were really cute. It does annoy me that Dave was just like written off the show and they were like, oh, well, he became an actor on West Drive. Like, no, y'all only said that so you wouldn't get black hole allegations, but you did black hole him. We still don't really know why Jamel left, but I probably would agree with him because who wouldn't want to leave that mess? Um, they were really sweet together. I liked their slow burn. I will always love the season 9 episode where they're at the dance and Johnny's being a dick to Allie, and Dave is trying to get her to come out of her shell and just have fun. I love ships where they can just have fun with each other, and I feel like that was a great aspect of Dave and Allie's relationship. I definitely don't really remember, like, they broke up in season 11. Did they break up in season 11 because of the MIT shit, or was that season 12? Can't remember. But anyway, they went on the break in season 11. He slept with Jacinta. No, that's not cheating. Come at me. Even though usually I do think it's cheating, but I think breaks have to be like spoken about what you are and aren't allowed to do, but they're fucking 16, so you can't really expect that. Um, then they got back together. Then they have that great scene where the Eli's like, "Don't be gay, just be in love," or whatever the line is. And Dave's like, "Oh, I wasn't thinking about being gay. I was thinking about Allie." It was such a sweet, sweet moment. They definitely did not deserve to be blackholed, and I really cannot remember why they broke up. Was it like the pregnancy scare shit? Someone please tell me. Have already watched those episodes in a bit, but just a nice, nice couple. Johnny and Allie. um, okay, I said this in the last video. When I was like in high school and middle school, I really liked them together because I do think that they have really good chemistry. I know Scott and Melinda. I don't know if they still are, but I know they were very close back in the day, and you can very clearly tell. I love. It's. I don't want to say I love because it's so like 18-year-old, 14-year-old. Like it's messy and gross, and he spread her nudes around the school and lied to her. Claire is completely right, and all of her Johnny hatred. Like Claire was literally me, with all of my friends in that sense, but when I was 15, like their scenes did get me so bad. Like, doesn't matter what you wear, Allie, you look good to me. And then like your friend Allie is the only girl I want. Like they did give a buzz, but also like it's gross. So I don't want to put them in hated that. I guess I'm gonna have to go electric chair. Even though who approved this is looking pretty tempting. I think I'm gonna leave them in who approved this, yeah. Leo and Allie, obviously electric chair, bottom, bottom, bottom. And I just want to say, I fucking hate the fans who are like, and the show, honestly, who are like, oh, well, Allie is book smart and boy dumb. That's why she always gets herself into these situations. No, babe, Allie doesn't get herself into these situations. These men just treat her like fucking shit and take advantage of her. That is what it is, and anyone can be in an abusive relationship. And yes, obviously, some of the signs were obvious with Leo, but at the same time, she just wanted it to work so bad that she didn't care. And sometimes that's just how it is. So, Sav and Anya, I mean, beautiful mess. I mean, I think they honestly are taking the cake for like the most entertaining toxic Degrassi ship. I mean, the Anya song, iconic. The sticker books, iconic. The I had a miscarriage, super bummer, iconic. But at the same time, they were toxic as all hell. Like Anya was always lying to him and low key manipulating him, which is not talked about enough. Even though I love Anya, Sav when he implied that she was impure or whatever, like they were just toxic and brought out the worst in each other, but in like the most entertaining way. And I do appreciate how like they end the show still being friends. Like the scene in the hospital with Holly J, where the three of them are there, was really sweet. So I do like when people can like be mature and still have a friendship. But again, toxic as all hell. Jonah and Becky, I wish there was a like to make fun of cheer, but there's not. So they're going and they dated. Literally forgot this happened. Jonah to me is one of the most irrelevant characters to ever be on the show, and all however many seasons, like completely irrelevant. He and Becky with their shitty voices sounding like shit together. Sorry, Aaron, I'd love to make fun of you, so I will continue to do so until the end of time. Um, like when Becky is more interesting with Hunter, like there's a problem. I wish Hunter and Becky were on here just because of when their Sims have cyber sex and he calls her a noob. Like that was so fucking funny, but yeah. I honestly don't even like want to talk about Cam and Maya because I'm literally afraid I'm gonna get death threats. But again, I've been in this family since I was 15. I can handle death threats at this point. Cam and Maya, I think they have to go here. So my opinion on them is pretty. I don't appreciate how Cam's like entire arc was about Maya pretty much. I don't really like I hate the scene where she says he broke up with me by killing himself. I know everyone loves that scene, and I don't want to call her like selfish cuz she is a 14-year-old, but I don't appreciate the way that scene was written at all. I don't appreciate the way Cam's death in general was written. Maya and Zig, fucking disgusting. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And yes, that is completely because of Cam. Um, my unpopular opinion, I do not think Cam and Maya would have lasted at all. I think, um, I just, I don't want to say, like, they definitely encouraged each other and supported each other, which I do love in ships. But I think they were at just two very different levels. And controversial take, I don't necessarily think ignore that pornographic spyware virus thing. I mean, God, ignore that. That's just from me, downloading movies and stuff that might not be entirely legal. But anyway, moving on. Cam and Maya, I don't think they would have lasted. I don't think that Maya would have gone through as much as she did if Cam hadn't died, which is just more effects on how suicide affects people, even though, Degrassi, Cam's life mattered. I hated how they treated it like it didn't. So honestly, like my issues with them is just more about how they wrote the Cam storyline. Because they did have sweet moments. Cam was definitely happy with her. She definitely gave him a safe place to just exist. But also like the Zig shit, and I'm gonna get hate for saying this. She was flirting with Zig during the color war shit, and Cam had every right to be pissed. And yes, I said that. And literally go back and watch the scene where he's like, she did not need to ask him to tie that bandana on her head. She really didn't. Controversial, but Claire and Drew, I mean, who approved of this? A bottom of who approved of this? Like, why? Literally, like, why? And we talked about this on Degrassi After Dark. I'm not calling Aislinn ugly by any means, but for someone like Drew to go after someone like Claire, who was just a total nerd, they dress her like a fucking grandma in the later seasons, is just so unrealistic. And people love to say they're like, oh, like they needed an outlet for the Adam trauma. It's like they bonded over the trauma. It's like, yeah, and Adam and Drew was also messing around with Becky because of the Adam trauma. So Drew was just using everybody as a fucking outlet for that. Some people say the same shit about Zoe, like, oh, Drew was traumatized. It's like, no, Drew was a grown ass man by the end of that show. He was like 19 or 20. Like, we need to start holding Drew Torres accountable. But like, it just like why? And then like the whole baby thing was, I will never forget watching Thunderstruck live. Like I had been checked out of Degrassi for so long, and for whatever reason I tuned in for that episode. Well, not for so long, but for most of season 13. And I watched that episode and I was just like, why? Like when she gets the phone call at the end, I was like, why? And I mean, who didn't know it was going to be Eli's baby? Like literally, if you didn't know that, I don't know what show you were watching, but just why? Just never should have happened. Very fun to make fun of, but like why? Jenna and Connor, honestly, controversial. They dated. Like they got no script. They literally had one episode where they got together. They were in the spacesuits, and then Connor punched Luke in the face. And then there was an episode where they were at the dance and her titty fell out of her dress. That was literally it. Like we never saw them together. And I don't like Jenna, and I Connor deserved more as a character. They were fucking racist and ableist to him, and that's like could be its own video. Um, but that's not really my place to talk about. But just boring. Like Jenna is just like, yeah, she became less toxic when she was with Connor, but I feel like they just threw them together because they were the only people in that class who they didn't do anything with. So they were like, let's just put them together. Craig and Ashley, controversial take. I know everyone really likes him and Manny together. Like, why is beyond me. Like, Craig treated every girl like shit, truly. And I love Craig, and I can admit that. Him and Ashley just, like, I don't want to say they inspired each other, but Ashley was, like, the only girlfriend of Craig's who would call him out on his shit. Like, she wouldn't just sit around. She'd be like, you're fixing this, you're doing this, or we're done. Like, we're not going to be together. Like, she held him accountable for the cheating thing. She made him actually apologize. Um, and Craig was just like, they needed each other, like, in a weird way. And it almost, like, makes me sad because I actually really like in the spring break episode where Craig is revealed as the mystery performer and he's like, she's always been my inspiration, Ashley Kerwin. It's just such a sweet moment. And like, yeah, like Gina said, one thing about Ashley, she was gonna move to Europe and ditch Craig. Like, very, very true. But at the same time, just like just fucking why? Like, why did they break up? Like, because the show, like, never cared about Ellie and Craig either. Like, they never really gave them a ton to do if you really think about it. So they spent so much time on, like, Craig and Ashley and Craig and Manny. So it's so strange to me that neither of those couples were, like, Craig's quote-unquote endgame. Speaking of Craig and Ellie, top of bittersweet. Now, I am not one of those people who thinks that Craig did not care about Ellie. I do think that Craig genuinely loved Ellie, but I also think that them being in group together really hindered their romantic development, because I do think that Craig kind of sees Ellie as an extension of himself, and he's worried about them being toxic and him hurting her. But it's like, Craig, like, you're already fucking hurting her, buddy. Like, you're leading her on. Like, yes, they have great chemistry, and 100%. Like, if everyone's like, oh, Ellie was a pick me, like, I would be too. Craig completely made her think that he was gonna pick her, and he never ever did. Obviously, like, Degrassi Goes Hollywood, one of the best episodes ever of the show, and yes, I truly think that. Love the scene at the airport. Love when she says, "You really came through for me," and he says, "I owed you one." So cute. No, do I think they ended up together? No, I don't really think Craig ends up with anyone. I think Craig is just like his single. Craig is like that tweet that's like, men push every woman away because their true soulmate is a man. Like, bisexual king. I do think that they, whenever one of them is in town, they hook up, but like, that's it. Emma and Damien, honestly, just who approved this, and the reason, no, they're not going below Claire and Drew. Honestly, the reason they're going and who approved this is because in If You Leave, which is the second episode after JT died, Emma and Manny get into a major fight about Manny hooking up with Damien. And my unpopular opinion is I think they were both right in that argument. Like, Emma was right to be pissed off. Manny was right for wanting to move on and, like, bring happy into the world again. But I will say, Manny was wrong for continuing to mess around with Damien after she was told that he was friends with Drake Lemke and Johnny, and then lied to her about it. She was wrong for that. Manny is wrong about a lot of things that no one ever wants to acknowledge. Damien is just, I mean, obviously, like, he messed around behind Emma's back, like, but it's also like they didn't really care about each other. Emma clearly was just lonely after Sean left and her friend had just died. Why all of my girls were so down bad for that man, I will never understand, but just why? Emma, come on. Danny and Shantae, honestly, parents. Like, they didn't have any storyline, but they're both very pretty. I love that Shantae is just a gossip queen and mother, and Danny's just like a chill dude who likes playing his guitar. Which, by the way, has anybody ever noticed that, like, no one plays bass in Suits? They all play guitar. Like, why is that? But anyway, just very cute together. And I want to say, people who hate Shantae and are like, well, she screwed over Leia, are being very anti-black with that. Because, like, let's not pretend anyone gives two shits about Leia. Danny and Mia, honestly, hated. People who claim that they dated are, number one, did you watch the show? They literally went on one date. As much as I like Danny, I really don't appreciate the way that he slut-shamed her. Like, they went on one date. Like, you are not, like, owed anything. She never promised him that they were going to be together. They literally went on one date. I don't appreciate him slut-shaming her. That was really gross. I hate when he says, like, you traded in a Porsche for a bus pass line to Peter. And also, what is it with friends on this show dating their dead friend's ex? Like, obviously, JT didn't really give a shit about Mia, which, like, no one did, which is kind of sad, but I don't like Mia, so I don't care. Like, just very weird. Dave and Sadie, they dated. Like, literally, they dated. Again, people who are like, Dave left Sadie for Allie. Can we not pretend that we care about Sadie? Thanks. Declan and Jane, who, like, literally who approved this. Like, why did this happen? I'm convinced that Paula Brancotti did something to piss off the writers in season 9, because she carried season 8 solely on her back, and then in season 9 they were just like, okay, you're gonna cheat on Spinner multiple times, and then make jokes to Holly J about it, and that's your entire storyline. and then you're gonna leave the show alone. Like, why did they do that to her? And just nasty. And their chemistry wasn't even that good. Like, they're both sexy, but like, so weird, so weird. Drew and Allie, honestly, they're going and they dated because I think if you ask the average Degrassi fan to name all of Drew and Allie's relationships, I think this one is like the last one to be remembered unless you're a hardcore fan. They literally dated for like a total of maybe 4 episodes, and then they were maybe gonna get back together, but obviously that never happened. And then I don't even think they interacted again until Allie started dating Dallas. Like, just so irrelevant. And that the fact that we wasted an entire episode on him putting a label on their relationship is stupid. And like shit like that is why people hate this show. Drew and Bianca, like literally the definition of true love. Um, I don't like Drew. I have issues with Bianca, but you can't deny that they were more passionate about each other than any other ship. Like, Bianca saved Drew's life. Drew saved Bianca's life. They went through so much shit, and every single time they went back to each other over and over and over again. And most couples on this show leave like at the first sign of trouble, but not Drew and Bianca. They always chose each other. They always went back to each other. I think somebody said like Bianca's like the one girl Drew never cheated on, and I 100% believe it. Like, they were meant for each other. And I know that they wanted to write Alicia off the show, which I don't really understand because they kept Monroe on, which whatever, but like her leaving, breaking up with him because her stupid friends at college, who she'd known for like 3 months, said it was lame to be engaged, is dumb. Sorry. Drew and Becky, obviously electric chair. Let's be so serious here. I don't even need to fucking talk about this shit. Electric chair. Speaking of, Drew and Zoe, electric chair. Possibly, yeah, they're gonna be lower than Drew and Becky. I know Drew has weird stands on Twitter who defend everything he does and are like, he had so much development. It's like, I don't give a fuck about his development when he's a 19-year-old sleeping with a 15-year-old. And Audra Torres, love of my life, calling him out, and when he was like, it was just sex, and she was like, are you dumb? Like, it's not just sex to a 15-year-old girl, Drew. Like, she ended him. um Drew completely took advantage of Zoe, and I know everyone hates Zoe in those seasons, but he did 100% take advantage of her. And everyone's like, oh well, she cried R word on him. It's like, yes, she did, but at the same time he took advantage of her. Like, two things can coexist. Marco and Dylan hated them. I guess Top have hated them because they were kind of cute in season 3. But like, why did they last so long? Like, Dylan really treated Marco like shit. The whole storyline where he just decided they were in an open relationship without even like asking Marco about it was insane. I think they literally break up in like season 6, and I think it's because Dylan's like, I'm going to play hockey in Switzerland or something stupid. And somebody pointed out to me that their age difference is the same as Paige and Mr. O, and that really grossed me out. So, Claire and Eli, never would have said this a year ago. True love. Again, like season 13 and 14 really put a bad taste in my mouth, as they did most normal people. But they did that for like every character because fuck seasons 13 and 14. Claire and Eli were just meant for each other. I mean, the chemistry that Monroe and Aislinn have, like the emotional intimacy that they portray. Specifically, I will always go back to the umbrella scene on the couch where she holds his hands and sits on his lap. Like, it's just such a sweet, welcome, like nice moment. Like, everything with them in season 10 is great. That's because she is the hero. Truly one of the greatest scenes in all of television. Um, Season 12, a little boring. Most couples are boring in season 12. Season 13 and 14, irrelevant. But like, if you say Eli and Claire never give you a buzz, like, you're lying. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they have at least one scene that gives you a buzz, like, straight up. And as much as I hate the miscarriage storyline, because it's just like, why? I do love them in that episode. I love the scene in the car where she kisses his hand. Like, it's just so sweet, and I love that they have like that's what I mean. Like, Claire was able to be intimate with Eli in a way that she wasn't with Drew. And I don't really mean that in a sexual sense. Even though like yeah, like they have great sexual chemistry, but I mean, like, in an emotional way. Like, I could never see her, like, letting her guard down and opening up to Drew like that, the way that she did with Eli. Which, like, again, there's, like, a weird cult of people who like Claire and Drew, which, like, literally, like, why are you watching the show? But Eli and Imogen, beautiful mess. Um, Eli with the Lord Farquaad here is taking me out, but they were both sexy. And yes, Imogen was completely taking advantage of Eli, which is not talked about enough. She's never held accountable for it. However, Extraordinary Machine, which is one of the best episodes of the show, in my opinion, Eli was manipulating her. I know that's like unpopular, and yes, he was having a mental break, but at the same time, making out with her and calling her Claire, which also like Imogen, like, get up, what are you doing? Kissing her hand, twirling her, like, she clearly had every right to think that they were going to be together. And then just for her, like, him to scream at her in the hallway. But and then when they got together, the whole her doing her art project on him was foul. Imogen is just a bad girlfriend. That's like something that's not talked about enough. Imogen is a terrible fucking girlfriend. But they were entertaining, super entertaining. Sean and Ellie. Okay, I want to be clear. I'm putting them here, but Sean belongs with Emma. Like, if Emma was not on the show, they would be more. Yeah, yeah, they would be more so here than they already are. They were there for each other at a really important time of both of their lives when both of them had no one. They were there for each other. They became each other's support system and lifted each other up. At the same time, the relationship was probably a little too intense for 15, 16-year-olds, but at the same time, I don't think they were fucking. I think that's like talked about in a later season, so maybe it wasn't that intense, but they were great together. The show did Ellie dirty on so many fronts, but when Sean comes back and Emma's like, what about Ellie? And he's like, I don't care about Ellie. Like, that was fucked up. Like, come on. Ellie and Jesse, like, they dated for like 2 seasons, but at the same time, like, when did they date? Like, literally when? Emma and Peter, controversial, bittersweet. Now, I know everyone hates them. I know they get the sibling allegations, but as somebody who has an eating disorder, I really, really like the way that Peter handled. One thing about Peter, and somebody said this once, and I completely agree with it. Peter is terrible in every situation until there is a crisis. Like, if there is a crisis, Peter will be the best boyfriend imaginable. Like, he goes into perfect human mode as soon as there's a crisis with someone he cares about. And the way he handled Emma's eating disorder was really lovely to see, especially because he is younger than her. I think he was a sophomore at the time. Now, obviously, like, the Sean shit was ridiculous, but no, obviously Sean did not deserve to have drugs planted on him being expelled. But Emma and Sean were sneaking around behind his back, which was foul. And I'm sorry, we as a community need to come to terms and admit that Peter Stone was a fun villain. Like, yes, he was sometimes obnoxious as hell, but he was fun. And again, like, I don't want to say I'm a Peter apologist, but there's so much hypocrisy in the fandom when it comes to Peter and not other characters that it pisses me off. I said this in the last video, but people who are Zoe stans are like, Peter sent child pornography. It's like, Peter was a child and so was Zoe, so it's kind of like they're both children, but Zoe was literally running like a sex trafficking ring. Like, let's be so for real, guys. Emma and Chris, if there was a fun to make fun of cheer, they'd go there, but they dated, like, literally they dated, like, when? Emma and Jay, they were great TV. Beautiful mess. Their chemistry was low-key, like, a sexual awakening for me when I was a kid. Like, they were very hot for, like, no reason. Jay was taking advantage of her because Jay's an awful person. And it's kind of funny that, like, they married each other's best friends and Jay gave her gonorrhea, and, like, I like that you had virtue or whatever is iconic. So they're going there. Emma and Kelly, honestly, I liked them, but they were kind of irrelevant, so I'm going to have to put them in who dated. Like, they were cute together, and Emma needs someone chill, so I liked that aspect of their relationship, but Esme and Miles, controversial take. Now, if the show had gone on and the show wasn't obsessed with Miles and Tristan for whatever reason, I do think that if both of them had gone to therapy and Esme had maybe gotten a proper diagnosis and proper help, that they would have been really good together. I know they had like that weird beef in the beginning of season 3. But like Esme was just pissed because she genuinely loved Miles and he just dropped her like a fucking like whatever as soon as he got the chance. Um and I don't people want to compare them Eli and Imogen. I don't think it's the same thing because Imogen was fully just taking advantage of Eli and just wanted him to be this version of himself that she had built up in her head. Esme genuinely thought she was helping Miles. Like she clearly knows a ton about like mental health and medication, as we know from her past. So she truly thought she was helping him. So I just think it's different, and also like they're just so sexy together. I do think that they're like the male and female versions of each other. I do think Miles is borderline. We know Esme probably had borderline. So just again, like the writers fucked up. Adam and Fiona are going in electric chair purely because the fact that they still have shippers makes me mad. And yes, I shipped them in season 10 before Fiona came out, but I don't ship them anymore. And you know why? Because Fiona is a lesbian and Adam is a man. And it's invalidating to both of them to ship them together. And that is the end of that. Fiona and Bobby, obviously electric chair, like nothing else to say. Fiona and Riley, honestly, beautiful mess. Like, they were funny as all hell. They literally dated for like 2 episodes, but the too bad you can't cure bitch scene is one of the best scenes of seasons 8 and 9. And Riley is just so fun to make fun of. So they both have to go in beautiful mess. Frankie and Jonah, they're not a beautiful mess, but they're still going to go in this tier because they were entertaining as all hell. Again, like once they like got together, it got pretty annoying because like Frankie would just cry about Jonah every episode, and like it was so weird because he was on her side during the racism scandal, and then like one episode he was randomly just like, Frankie, like have you ever considered you're like maybe wrong? And she just broke down crying, and it's like, Jonah, you literally were telling her that like she was fine for like the past 3 episodes, and now you're saying that out of nowhere. And also Frankie, everyone wants to like drag Frankie, and like yeah, I don't like Frankie either, but she is fun to make fun of. But she was right to be jealous of Grace and Jonah because Grace and Jonah immediately got together after they broke up, if I'm remembering correctly. But they low-key did give me a buzz. Like, this kissing scene low-key gave me a buzz in season 1. Her sex dream about him when he had his ugly hair was weird. Do you kiss your trust fund with that mouth was iconic. Like, the kiss was iconic, but, like, them together, just entertaining as hell. So messy. Oh, Grace and Zoe, electric fucking chair. Bruh, I am still pissed about this shit to this day. And like, yes, their fans were annoying just because they would call Graceva, Zaya, and Trials the Holy Trinity, which is like, what show are you watching? But also, like, I still don't understand like how the writers had Grace have literal sex with Zoe and then the next morning be like, oh, I'm not gay, I knew the whole time, I just like felt bad for you. Like, that is so fucking manipulative and gross, and it's not talked about enough. Sorry. Jonah and Grace, honestly, they're going in Who Dated just because they have to be the most boring couple to ever be on the show. Like, I don't even want to talk about them. Declan and Holly J. Bittersweet. Declan is an asshole. He was an asshole in season 10, even before the R-word shit, with him, like, basically, like, using his money to keep her around. That was really gross. I'm obviously the R word stuff stands on its own, and Linda literally, this is the thing about that. Linda literally confirmed in some interview that he R worded her, yet it's implied that they end up together. So, like, what the hell were those writers thinking with that? But they did give a buzz in season 9. Like, I know like a lot of people don't agree with that anymore, but like if you were watching live, like it really did give a buzz. Like, now that's a girl worth fighting for was iconic. Like, Degrassi Takes Manhattan when he goes to TRL or whatever, and he, like, begs for her forgiveness. She's like, this is your last chance. Like, they did give a buzz. Like, whether you like them or not, you could admit that. This took me a second. Holly J and Blue, they dated. Like, literally, they dated. She tried to fuck him in that one episode, and then they dated for another episode and then broke up. Sav and Holly J, right person, wrong writers. They were very sweet together. They definitely brought out the best version of each other. just a supportive, healthy relationship. I really don't know why the writers broke them up. Like, it was honestly kind of bullshit that out of nowhere, Holly J was like, yeah, I'm just not feeling it anymore. Like, bye. I know it was always supposed to just be for a short amount of time, but that was like a very like healthy, mature relationship, I felt like. And I don't know, it was just kind of sucks that they broke up, especially because Holly J was just like single for the rest of the show and Sab was dating Miss O. Holly J and Spinner. Okay, we need to figure something out as a fandom. What is the age difference between them? So Spinner was supposed to graduate in '06. But he graduated in season 7, which is 2007 in like Degrassi like years. So Holly J graduates, I think, class of 2011. But that, or yeah, I guess she graduates 2011. So she was a sophomore when Spinner was a super senior. So their age difference is the same as Johnny and Allie. So people like them and yet complain about Johnny and Allie. It's like, again, the hypocrisy in the Degrassi fandom is ridiculous. So I'm just gonna go in they dated because they didn't date. But at the same time, the age difference was gross. Like, I really liked their friendship. Spinner obviously had no interest in her. I know they did that like Teen Nick promo where like Nick Cannon walks in on them making out, but Spinner had no interest in her. It was more like a big brother little sister thing. Obviously, she had a crush on him, but that was it. Fiona and Imogen, honestly, I'm going in bittersweet, and the reason for this is because Imogen is a terrible girlfriend, which I've talked about before. But also, like, they should have been better than they actually were. I know everyone hypes them up and is like they're like the best Degrassi couple, and that literally the only reason for that is because Annie and Christine are pretty, and we were so starved for a female relationship at that time. But they were really messy together, if we're completely honest. And I stand by what I said on Degrassi After Dark. I do think that they put them together just because they thought Eclair fans were dumb and would be like, because Christine was literally getting death threats when Image Eli was happening, and I think they were like, oh well, people can't like hate her if she's with Fiona because they'll think she's a lesbian. Imogen's not a lesbian. I'm tired of having this fight, but don't like them together. Imogen and Jack, like, fucking who? Like, literally, and I guess I know who they are more than like Jonah and Grace, but like, I forget that they dated. That's how relevant. Claire and Jake, right next to Drew and Claire, like, their parents literally got married, and Claire was still trying to fuck him. And I think it was Jake who finally had enough sense to be like, Claire, we need to stop. Like, this is not happening. It was also just so random, and like, they were not well suited for each other at all, which is unpopular. Some people were like, oh, well, Claire needed someone chill. It's like, no, Claire needs someone like her level of like, I don't want to say intelligence because like I don't want to call Jake stupid, but like Jake is almost more like emotionally mature than Claire, but she's smarter than he is, if that makes sense. Jay and Alex, beautiful mess. Like, obviously she's a lesbian. I do like that scene in season 5 where she tells him he's a lesbian and he just like asks if they can watch TV together. I do think that's sweet. I like that they stayed friends. Obviously, never forget when he gave her and like a million other girls gonorrhea. So entertaining. Jenna and Casey, again, beautiful mess. Entertaining as all hell. They're going at the bottom just because I think they're more toxic than any of these couples. They're both nasty to each other, but You Told Me to Play Basketball is a god tier Degrassi scene, and I think Jenna is just as funny as he is in that scene because she's so angry and it's so funny. And that's like an underrated opinion. So Jimmy and Ashley, I don't want to like, I feel like they shouldn't be low enough. Like, I honestly kind of want to put them in Who Dated, which is so funny because they were like the first original like TNG couple, and they literally were together on and off for 7 seasons, and they were still irrelevant. I think I'm just gonna put them in Hated, but like top of hate, because like, why? And you've had so many disappointments, yeah, but you're the biggest. Iconic. Jimmy and Hazel, my right person, wrong writers. Like, why did they do that? Like, literally, why? Like, Jimmy and Ellie is one of the dumbest things the show has ever did. Like Jimmy was emotionally cheating on Hazel, who had been nothing but fucking good to him. This show pisses me off so bad. Hazel was great to Jimmy. She loved him. She supported him through everything. She never made him feel lesser than. She loved him. He was like, "Oh well, Ellie's an outlet." It's like, don't fucking take your trauma out on Hazel. She didn't do shit to you. She had your back the entire time. And Ellie did not give a shit about Jimmy. She was in love with Craig. So goodbye. Jimmy and Hazel, top tier. And this episode, Take on Me, where they kiss, is such a great little moment. Jimmy and Trina, electric chair. Just because how the fuck are you gonna have Jimmy end up with a white girl with dreads over Hazel? Didn't we already do Jonah and Becky? I think yeah, but they put them again, so we'll just put them right next to each other. The greatest of all time. We'll never love again. JT and Liberty are the ship that got me into fandom. Like, I literally created a Tumblr just so I could talk about JT and Liberty because my friend at the time told me that there was a Degrassi Tumblr community. With JT and Liberty, I can't even express. Turned Out was the first episode I ever saw, so that has something to do with it. I just love their story so much, and the writing was not always there. Like, there are definitely issues in their writing that, like, I think is a valid discussion to be discussed. But one thing that nobody can deny is that Sarah and Ryan clearly adored and loved each other, whether they were dating or not, or they were just friends. Whatever, they're never beating the they were each other's first loves allegations. But like, even if they were just best friends, which Cassie still said they were, and Jake Goldsby said that they do still talk, so crying, screaming, throwing up. They loved each other, and that really came across on screen in all of their scenes. Even like in season 2, when she takes the fall for him, and she calls him cool, and she's like, JT York just calls me cool. See you around, Rebel. And the wink is literally iconic. And then even like their first kiss, like Ryan's smile, and that just felt so genuine and sweet. And their chemistry in Rock This Town is absolutely insane. And I love so much the scene where Liberty says, where JT tells her that it was his idea to throw the party, and Liberty looks so happy, and I feel like we never saw her that happy again. And I do think that they were soulmates. I do think they were true love. They're like two sides of the same coin. I made a gift set a million years ago about that. Like, JT's crush on Paige and Liberty's crush on JT are very tethered. And I love, like, it's just like they're so sweet. Like, the scene where Simpson asks them to do a report on their hero and Liberty picks JT, so freaking cute. And I just want to say, for people who claim Liberty treated JT like shit, I usually don't even acknowledge those people because, like, it's not worth anyone's time, because it's like, what show are you watching? Liberty was 15 and like 9 months pregnant, and JT was dealing drugs and about to go to prison. Like, she had every right to be pissed off because he literally was leaving her alone even before the suicide attempt. But when they go to her parents and tell them that Liberty is pregnant. JT is a man and tells her parents himself, which I do really respect that he didn't leave it to her. Like, he took care of it because he could see how uncomfortable she was. And her parents literally said, okay, Liberty, we will take care of this. You can stay here. We will support you. You just cannot see JT ever again. And Liberty said, all right, bet, and left the house. And she literally gave up her family just so she could be with JT. She loved and adored him, and JT really was not mature enough for her. And by the time he had worked to become mature enough for her, they fucking killed him. And another thing I do just want to say, that this is like another underrated moment I really love, is JT was so embarrassed about his PJ job. Like, when Simpson plays the video in class, like, he didn't tell anybody about it. He didn't want anyone to know. Emma and Manny are his best friends. He didn't want them to know. I think, yeah, Toby knows, but that's it. Nobody else knew. And when Liberty is so, like, impressed, and she's like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you've always wanted to be on TV. I knew you could do it. He suddenly is like, oh, this is cool. Like, she did that for him. They were so great for each other. They're so star-crossed lovers. Like, I will always love them. Like, you guys will never make me hate them. JT and Mia, electric chair. Like, I don't even, like, want to talk about them. Just, Mia was hot and JT wanted to be a dad. That's literally the basis of their relationship. Drew and Katie, honestly entertaining. Obviously, don't agree with the season 12 premiere shit, but her crying all the time was funny. Drew's a fucking asshole. Like, just funny. Jake and Katie, parents, so hot together. The writers said that their endgame, love that. They brought out the best in each other. Like, I know I said, like, Katie is also very smart, but like, Katie is like a type A in a way that Claire isn't. Like, Claire can be chill at times, or like, she can be at least funny. Like, Katie is full on all the time, and she needs someone like Jake to bring her back into reality. And Jake needs someone like Katie who can challenge him. Like, they're just great together. Claire and Casey, honestly, they're kind of gonna go in who dated, but like they top of they dated because just irrelevant. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know like they have people who fight for them and say they're Claire's best relationship, but they were just irrelevant as fuck. And like Casey was horrible to her. Like, he literally was emotionally cheating, then left her for her friend, and then was using her feelings for him to get her to cheat on him. Like, horrible. Casey and Marisol, I guess, beautiful mess. Like, Marisol can do better, but like they were entertaining. Danny and Leia, like, they dated like literally when people who pretend to care about Leia to hate on Shantae, like, shut up. Toby and Liberty are going right next to Drew and Becky. Electric chair, disrespectful bullshit. And I know people want to say they were like, oh, like they were good, they were well suited for each other. This is my opinion on that. I think if there had been a love triangle before JT had died, that actually would have been really interesting and also would have been nice for them to like actually give Toby something to do. But they were honestly, Toby's feelings for Liberty and like any feelings Liberty had for him, which she clearly didn't, but that's besides the point, were just, it was a trauma bond purely. Toby saying to Manny that he liked Liberty because she was sad and she needed him was gross. Like, again, like Drew and Becky were a trauma response also, and but I actually like care about Toby and Liberty, and I don't care about Drew and Becky like as characters, not as a couple. Um, yeah, just gross. I definitely think that they stayed friends because like outside of JT, they did have like a consistent friendship. Like, even in season 5, like she literally almost gave birth in his car. Like, he was very supportive of her. So I do think that they probably stayed friends, and I do think that Toby is a pretty good friend to Liberty outside of that. But just like, why? Jay and Manny, my second favorite Degrassi couple ever. True love. Said this in the last video. Jay, horrible person, never did anything to redeem himself. But one thing about Jay, he was gonna love the absolute shit out of Manny Santos. Their chemistry was insane. The best chemistry ever on the show. I know Cassie said on TikTok that she and Mike did not date. And it's like, number one, yeah, right. Number two, okay, well, then you were probably just fucking. Like, there was something going on because their chemistry was so real. It was actually insane. Like, you cannot fake that type of chemistry. All of their scenes give a buzz. The I love all of you, dummy. You're my today and my tomorrow. Like, just amazing. So cute. And Degrassi Goes Hollywood, again, like one of the best episodes ever for a ship on the show. That kiss at the end is probably arguably the best Degrassi kiss. When he's, oh my god, when he's like, I'll be waiting for you, boo. Like, the buzz every fucking time, man. And then again, just, I really like in that episode how Jay is really not trying to get Manny back. Like, he's kind of accepted that they're not going to be together anymore and that she has moved on, but he sees that she is in an abusive relationship and he works to get her to believe in herself. It's not a like, oh, there's better guys out there for you. It's, no, Manny, like, you can do this. Like, you have talent. You need to believe in yourself. And he gets her to LA so that she can find herself again and reignite that fire that he loves about her. And he really, like, in that last scene that I was just talking about, like, he kisses her on the cheek and he says, like, you know, I love you. And I love the way Michael Bell delivers the line because it's not like a, oh, like, again, like, be with me. It's just, it's him saying, like, I just want you to know that I love you. And, he leaves and Manny, like, she says, I'll be back before you know it. And it was very clear then that she felt the same. And it was such a sweet, sweet episode. I really do like the fact that they didn't pull any shit in season 9. Like, they were just Endgame and that was it. Like, even in Degrassi Takes Manhattan, there was no stupid drama. Like, they were just Endgame. And I appreciate that. Love Manny and Jay. Craig and Manny. Beautiful mess. Now, like Gibberty and Sema, it's always nice to see couples like grow up together, but they were a fucking mess. Like, I'll never forget Craig blaming the coke on her. Um, and like even I just like I don't know because I do actually my unpopular opinion is I do kind of like them in season 5. Like I actually think it's a really sweet moment when like her nudes get released and like everybody's laughing at them and Craig's like shut up, like it's not funny. Because he's just like so like annoyed that this is happening to her. Like I think that's a really sweet moment. Um it Craig was 100% foul when he brought her on stage at the downtown Sasquatch wedding gig, but that's besides the point. Um, like they were sweet, but they were a mess, like an absolute mess. And like their best scene was at the ice rink. Like, come on, JT and Manny, who approved this? They literally JT and Manny. People were always like, oh, like they could have been great. Like, no, 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 no. JT and Manny had been friends since preschool. They were like brother and sister. The only reason they got together was because JT was hormonal and Manny wanted someone nice, and that literally is it. That's literally the only reason they were together. Um, Mo and Marisol, parents, and honestly, true love. Um, love them. They were just so unexpected for a show like Degrassi. They were such a breath of fresh air too. Everyone always gives Marisol shit for the thinking he was a heroin addict, but it's like they would have also called her fat phobic if she'd assumed it was diabetes and like her friend was a recovering drug addict. So like it's obviously a sensitive issue for her. She'd been through a lot with Katie. So and even the diabetes, like anything with food, like she had been through the ringer with Katie with her eating disorder. Like she had every right to be concerned about all of it. I was also just really nice as a plus size person to see a plus size character be loved so unabashedly by somebody as cool as Marisol. That was really nice to see, and I obviously love the time of my life scene when he sings to her. Just so great together. I do think they end up together. Would love to hear headcanons on what you guys think that they're up to. Miles and Maya, honestly, I thought about this for a long time. They're going here. And like, yeah, obviously back in the day, I was very bitter towards them because I was still pissed about the Cam situation. But now that I think about it, they really did have a lot in common. They were two like broken people who needed each other. Now, I definitely don't think they brought out the best in each other at that time in their lives. Um, but down the line, like in next class, there was a fic like back in the day about them being friends with benefits in season 3. And like literally, why didn't that happen? Like I know everyone likes Miles and Lola, but I feel like that would have made so much more sense. Especially because Maya was so affected by the bus crash, and Miles obviously was affected by the bus crash as well. And I'm not going to say exactly what I'm talking about. The Olivia and Eric um, losing something allegations are probably true just because of that one scene they have in season 3. Like the chemistry in that, I was like, oh, something definitely happened like off screen. Sorry, Eric, I love you. Peter and Mia are fucking irrelevant as all hell. They dated. They were so irrelevant to the point where they literally were dating for 3 months, and Peter literally was planning on moving to Kenya to be with Darcy. Like that's how irrelevant they were. And people want to be like, oh, like Peter's meth addiction started because of Mia. It's like, no, babe. Like Pete, that was just like the cherry on top. Like both his parents had abandoned him. Darcy had left. Like this was just the cherry on top. Like let's be so serious here. Miles and Zoe, honestly, parents. Like not romantically, obviously, but love both their characters. Again, kind of like Miles and Esme in the way that they have so much in common. Um, they were just like interesting together. I really liked that they had like developed a genuine friendship by the time we got to next class. Did anyone else think it was weird in that season 2 episode where they randomly revealed that they fucked? And I remember when they first said it, I was like, oh, like I guess in Paris. Like I guess they're retconning Zoe losing it to Drew and they fucked in Paris. And then they were like, no, last summer. I was like, during Don't Look Back, like on the boat, like what? Like that made no sense, like at all. Miles and Lola, I honestly want to put them in hate because all their fans are annoying, and I don't like Lola, but okay, they're going in bittersweet, but literally they're going in bittersweet because of their fans, because I would like them better if Lola stands weren't insufferable, and that's all I'm saying about that. But I did love them back in the day. Owen and Anya, who approved this? Like, literally, why? Like, there's in the trenches, and then there's whatever the hell Anya McPherson was going through in season 11. Deep fucking sigh, guys. Right person, wrong writers. Like I said, I am biased towards Paige and Alex because, I mean, okay, like, for those of you who are like younger and watching this, like, you don't understand. Like, I don't want to say you don't understand what it's like to be like LGBT, but like back in the day, like when I was in middle school, there was zero fucking representation. Like, to the point where like those first like memories you have of representation on screen are ingrained into your mind. Like, I will never forget being at the gym with my mom watching Brittany or Santana tell Brittany she loves her on the TV. Like, I still to this day can quote that entire scene by heart. Same thing with Paige and Alex. Like, I'll never forget watching Lexicon of Love when I was in middle school and they kissed for the first time. Just like changed my perception of absolutely everything. And their chemistry went crazy. I'll never forget. Oh my god, like literally insane. Like, I lied when I said you were nothing to me because right now you're pretty much everything and I have to be better around you. I have to laugh when I'm around you. I can't help it. And I have to be better when I'm around you. I can't really help it either. The writers obviously just like didn't give a fuck about Alex by the time Alex left the show, and I really don't know why that was. Because it's like it's not like they were doing great in the LGBT rep department at that time. So it's like, why did they break up? Like maybe Deanna wanted to leave the show or something, but just so weird. If the writers like actually, and also the writers really didn't give a fuck about Paige either, for being honest, especially with the way they ended her in Degrassi Goes Hollywood. It's like that's what they think of Paige, but I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Peter and Darcy, controversial. My third favorite Degrassi couple, forever and ever. Like, with Peter and Darcy, I honestly can't even explain what it is about them. Actually, I can. Um, Obviously, like the way they started with the whole picture shit with Adams was problematic. Again, like Peter's a fun villain, so it's not like something I take super personally. But the way that they developed was so interesting because they truly made each other better people. Darcy became so much less judgmental because of Peter. She became so susceptible to other people's backstories and opinions because of Peter. And Peter would not have, I don't think that Peter would have been like cool with Riley or just like an overall like cool chill person in seasons 8 and 9 if it wasn't for Darcy. And like I just really really love them together, and I just always have, like, even at the end of season 6 where um she's like, "You'll get us into sugar," and he's like, "I'll risk all the sugar in the world, like be careful I will sing." Like the buzz from that goes crazy, and um just all of season 7. I mean, like they care. It's them and Jenny like truly carried season 7 on their backs. Um, I love like them throughout the R Word storyline. Like, oh my god, like come on. Even if you don't like Peter, when he literally goes to the camp just so he can like be there for Darcy and look out for her, that was so freaking charming and sweet. Like even if you hate them, you have to admit that. And like they just truly loved each other so much. And I don't fuck next class for giving Peter some random girlfriend. Like they couldn't have just said, "Oh, like my girlfriend Darcy." They couldn't have just fucking said that. Like with all the stupid shit they've done over the years, they couldn't just give me that one thing. Like I hate this show. Um their endgame, I don't care what the writers say. Like literally do not care at all. Zayn and Riley, bittersweet. Degrassi can't write same-sex male couples to save their lives. Like if they were being held at gunpoint, they would still fuck it up. Um, you know what? It's like I don't. I would get hate for saying this. I really wish Peter and Riley had hooked up. Like I really wish that had happened. It would have been better than fucking Peter and Mia. And but Degrassi also just doesn't care about their Asian characters at all, which is like a whole other thing. So they didn't care about Riley and Zayn, and Aguris, whatever his name is, a horrible actor. It's like that just makes it like hard to watch. And Zayn was always trying to push him to come out of the closet and would throw a bitch fit when he wasn't ready. And it's like, Zayn, like you need to chill. But also I did appreciate that Zayn would call him out on his homophobia. Like I did like that. San and Lola, irrelevant. Like I know that's unpopular, but like, bye. Sean and Emma. I mean, come on, bro. Sean and Emma, I'm gonna say it. Anybody who's on Twitter being like, fuck Sema is a pick me, like, is this the attention that you wanted? Sean and Emma will always be the number one most iconic Degrassi couple forever and ever. If you think of Degrassi couples, you think of Sean and Emma. Like, especially if you're an old school person, I get people who are maybe like 5, 10 years younger than me would probably think of Eli and Claire, but like anyone who's like my age or a little older will think of Sean and Emma. And in my opinion, the single most iconic shit moment in the entire show is I thought it would be second best to the real thing. Nothing could replace the real thing. Like the absolute buzz in that scene goes crazy. The kiss in the car, I don't want you to stop, goes crazy. Sean stepped in front of a gun for Emma. Like no hesitation whatsoever. Like that is true love. And whoever pointed out that Emma didn't downward spiral until Sean left is Galaxy Brain. Like that is a pure fact. Love the scene on the beach in Back to Black where he apologizes to her for last year and she's like, it's ancient history. Like just such a nice moment. Early Sema was great. Love, love, love that Sean was like an honorary member of like the Nelson Simpson clan. Love when they take the picture on the first date and then they retake it in season 7. It just always makes me cry. I love that Miriam and Daniel love them too, and I love that. Well, Steven Stone honestly can kiss my ass because in that It Goes There thing, he was like, I don't know why she married Spinner. Like, I don't know why that we let that happen. And then in next class, they were like, oh, they literally mentioned several times that Spinner and Emma were still married. Why? Shay and Tiny, parents. I wish they had like actually given them something to do. But they were really sweet together, just two nice people, very patient with each other. Like so many of the ships in these three categories, made each other better people. Just very sweet. Winston and Zoe. Honestly, I'm gonna put them in parents. I love Winston and I love Zoe as characters. Um, One thing I want to say about Winston, like this is not the case for 13 and 14, but I really like in next class, they didn't do any shit where he was like, I'm owed this because I'm a nice guy. Like, he genuinely just really liked Zoe, and it wasn't even like, oh, like, I can fix her. Like, it was none of that. Like, he genuinely liked Zoe. He saw what a good heart she had when no one else did, when everybody else hated her. Um, and he just wanted to be her friend. Like, even in the episode where it's revealed that Miles and Zoe fucked, like Miles is like trashing him for being a virgin, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't care. Like, I actually care about Zoe." Just like really sweet, and his reaction to her coming out is so freaking genuine and nice, and she needed that so bad, and I liked that they. I don't think they stayed like as close after that, but I definitely would prefer them having scenes like Zoe and Grace because I can't stand Grace. But I really like their friendship a lot. Spinner and Darcy. Honestly, I'm torn between parents and Bittersweet Symphony because, like, they are my parents. I don't want to put them in right person, wrong writers because Darcy belongs to Peter, but okay, I think I'm gonna put them in like Bittersweet because I do like them together. They do have good chemistry, but that's not really a reason because Shane Kipple has chemistry with like the closet door. Like he has chemistry with anyone. Um, but they were cute. I definitely think their relationship had run its course by the time they broke up in season 6. Um, but yeah, very sweet. What each other needed. Paige and Spinner, parents, like literally parents. Um, they definitely don't belong together, but they had something about them that was endearing. It was almost like their Paige and Spinner are like that friend that you have a lightweight crush on that has been there with you through so many different stages of your life that you just can't drop them. And like that to me is what Paige and Spinner were like. Like they obviously always had a crush on each other and they kind of just grew up together. Even in like season 6, they were randomly still hooking up, which came out of nowhere kind of, but it was also like, yeah, like they obviously care about each other. One thing about Spinner and Paige that I find really interesting is Paige is the only person that can calm Spinner down, and Spinner is the only person that can calm Paige down, which I think is an underrated aspect of their dynamic. Spinner and Emma, who approve this, I know they have people now who are like riding for them hardcore and like, yeah, here's the attention that you wanted. Like, no, we decided how we felt about this 10 years ago, actually, and it's saying that way. Spinner and Jane, parents, like, belong together. They belong together. When Leah goes there special, Paula Brancati and Shane Kibble were saying that they thought it was bullshit that they broke up. Like, they were both in agreement. They were so good for each other. And Paula made a great point. She was like, Jane was there for him through so much, and she fucks up once, and he's like, yeah, bye. But it's also like, yeah, she obviously fucked up more than once and then lied about it and made a joke about it, which I love Jane, but that was not great. But Spinner, like, you've cheated on multiple girlfriends in the past. Like, so who the fuck are you to get on your high horse about that? And, like, maybe it was different because, like, he was an adult at that point. But I don't know, man. That's just how I feel. But they belong together. I hate Degrassi, and I hate the way they treat Jane. Spinner and Penny, I mean, like, come on. They dated. They're going at, like, bottom if they dated. Like, again, if you ask a casual Degrassi fan, they'll be like, when did they date? Terry and Rick, obviously fucking electric chair. Let's be so serious here. Tiny and Lola, electric chair. They're gonna go after JT and Mia. Electric chair, just irrelevant. Like, Lola, it just felt weirdly anti-black or like misogynoir. I don't know like what the adjective would be about it being that towards Shay, but it was. I don't really appreciate. I know everyone's like, oh well, Lola asked her for permission, and it's like I don't give a fuck. And also people are like, well, she liked Tiny and she has abandonment issues. I'm like, I don't give two fucking shits. Like, you don't go after the guy that your friend likes and is actively talking to. That's fucking weird. Toby and Kendra, come on, they dated like when? Winston and Frankie, honestly, they're going and they dated just because I actually forget that they used to date, which is crazy. Because I liked Frankie when they dated. Trials, come on. My least favorite Degrassi ship of all time. Tristan was a terrible friend. He was a bigot. I could list all the nasty things Tristan did to Miles. Miles was literally openly being abused by his dad, and Tristan was just ignoring it because he wanted to live in his happy little world where he had a boyfriend, or he had a hot boyfriend. He, you can't even decide if you like boys or girls in front of the whole school. He, pushed Miles up against a locker when he had a concussion and knew he had a concussion. He accused Miles of giving him an STD just because he's bisexual, when Tristan was also hooking up with numerous people at the same time. He constantly always threw in his face that he was screwing up. He called him a whore. When the one time they ever let Miles call Tristan out, Miles was like, dude, you called me a whore. And Tristan was like, what else humps anything that moves? The Miles is strictly on boys now line. Like, they were just they were both nasty to each other, to be honest, but Tristan just horrible. I've made a million videos about Trials before. I hate them together so much. Like, I feel like I've talked about them so much over the past 10 years that it's become honestly kind of a joke. But the best moment of my life was when Miles left for England. I was like, yes, Miles, go. Don't go back. I was so happy. I'm honestly gonna put Tristan and VJ at bottom of beautiful. They're gonna go next to Fiona and Riley just because the chlamydia thing was funny, and like the thing where VJ would only like message him on chat because he was he was a 10th grader. It was so stupid and funny. Wesley and Hannah, they dated like when? I guess I know who they are, like less than these people. Frankie and Winston, again, we already did them. Goldie and Winston, honestly, parents. This is controversial. I don't like Goldie. I want to make that clear. But like for whatever reason, I really like them together. They were just a breath of fresh air on this show. He was so sweet with her. She really liked him, and they just had a great dynamic, I feel like. And I'm glad that like the show was still respectful of her religion while also like giving them like a healthy, like nice relationship. Oh, Hunter and Yale, fucking electric chair, babe. Like, this is the thing about Hunter that gets me. You are going to write a hit list because Yale rejects you. You're going to bring a gun to school because you were triggered by Yale rejecting you. Season 2, you're going to spend the entire season crying and having a mental break about Yale. Season 3, you are then going to get a boner from Lola and lie to Yale about it. Season 4, you're going to consistently misgender Yale and berate them about their pronouns. Even though you wasted literally 4 seasons trying to get with them. I need you to be serious, Hunter. The thruple, honestly, who approved this? Like, I'm not even gonna talk about them. Just like, why did this happen? Zig and Esme, I'm honestly gonna put them in bittersweet. I realized this recently. Like, as much shit as I talk about Zig, because I do hate him, I really think I just hate him with Maya. Because his other relationships I'm honestly fine with. It's just Maya. And like Zig and Esme, like, yeah, he was nasty to her. He called her a slut in front of everybody. Bragged about their sex life. Like, Zig, you should be so lucky. Like, he's disgusting. Um, but I do think that he cared about her. Gina loves to say, like, he would have cheated on Esme too if he had the opportunity. And, like, she is right, but I do think that he cared about her in his own Zig way. Speaking of, honestly, should I do this? Yeah. They deserve to be in the absolute last tier. Just horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Um, Again, I am a Cam stan first and foremost. The writers really just hate Cam. Like, they must have hated Cam or something. I don't know why, because Dylan got them so much media attention, so like it's weird that they hated Cam so much. But like Zig, like Maya, like what are you doing? Like, literally, what are you doing? The scene in season 14 where she's like, "You helped me get over Cam's death." Like, insert Maddie Perez, I'm literally gonna get violent gif. Because what the, like, who the fuck wrote that line? The scene, I think it's season 13, where he's like, when you were really drunk and you wanted to kiss me and I said no, I shouldn't have said no, I should have just kissed you. Like, obviously that's not the line, but um he's just a piece of shit. Like, literally, like, honestly, like, lightweight tried to assault her in season 1 of Next Class. Nobody talks about. Cheated on her with Zoe, then lied about it. Just a nasty, nasty human being. So glad that they broke up. The fact that they probably ended up together, like, makes me want to kill myself, but that's besides the point. Zing and Tori, honestly, right person, wrong writers. And the reason I'm saying this, they're both incredibly superficial people and deserved each other. Even though I do like Tori and I do think they were cute. Zig and Zoe. Now, I just want to say, those of us who shipped Zoe and Zig prior to Zoe's coming out are braver than the US Marines. Like, that was one of the hardest things I have ever had to do. Like, they had such great chemistry. They were so sweet together. And, like, the scene in the bus where she's about to OD and he talks her down. Like, what? Like, they really ruined Zig so bad because that would have been, like, the perfect, like, full circle for his character. For him, like, basically coercing somebody into killing themselves to talking Zoe out of doing it. Like, that was so great. And of course, they ruin everything after that. And I don't really remember why she and Zig. Well, they hook up. Obviously, they have sex, I think. But remember when everyone thought that Zoe was pregnant? Like, that would have been horrible. I'm so glad they didn't do that. Just they had great chemistry. Um, Obviously, Zoe's a lesbian now, so I don't ship it anymore. But like back in the day, I rode for them like nobody's fucking business. Zoe and Rasha, true love. Obviously, they were kind of boring. They didn't do much, but they were just such a. It was so nice to have a healthy same-sex relationship on this show because the writers like hated all their same-sex couples for whatever reason, and Zoe and Rasha were so supportive and encouraging of each other. They had such great chemistry. It was so nice to see Zoe be like sweet with somebody when she never had been. Um, I think introducing Rasha was actually really interesting. Like, she was definitely the best out of like her and like I think her and Sod like came over together, and like Sod fucking boring as fuck. Um, they were just so sweet. Like, I love everything with them in season 3. I love that they were prom queens. Like, So sweet. Such a lovely breath of fresh air on that fuck ass garbage show. Okay, guys. The last ship is Zoe and Winston, which we already did. So this is going to be everyone. Those were my very controversial opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please spread this video if you can. Only positive things. I'm going to leave all my social media in the description. Make sure to listen to Degrassi After Dark. Okay, guys. Peace out.